this isn't the obligation of one team or one person. This isn't for the data protection officer. I say that as a data protection officer. That makes me breathe better when I think like that. But we've reached a point where you can't do this if you're not collaborating successfully with your data governance and information security teams, because this has to act as a mesh across your business. That's a new word out there, but I like it, so I'm borrowing it for today, because it has to sit across your business strategy. This isn't about having an A to B control or an endpoint solution in itself, although there are some excellent ones out there. It is really about understanding your business. And I'm always amazed how many business owners buy a product and they don't actually really know what it does with the data. They don't know where the data goes. They don't know whether it's controlled in a certain way. They don't know whether third parties have access. And sometimes they don't fully understand what it's doing for them. So we really have to break it down for them as a sort of, when I say we, I'm assuming we all have an interest in data privacy. So if I go back to your question, because I'm aware of time, I would say you start with understanding your business and your business strategy. So it's a 5-year strategy. You understand which regulations across the world, because it's usually not just in country, and that was touched on earlier, because we're using technologies. Maybe we've got agreements with Google or Apple or Microsoft, be hard pressed not to. So these are global tech companies. So you look at your business and you look at your product and the jurisdictions within which they sit, along with the vendors you rely on, and you start formulating with your board or whoever they may be at your organization, a data privacy, data governance, commercial data risk strategy, risk appetite. You decide where you are on risk. Do you want to take a lot of risk? Do you want to take a little bit of risk? And then from that point, you start building out your data governance mesh, if you like, which is a system of controls as well as, the data comes in. So in the first stage, the data comes in, you have to think about the data categorization. You need to understand what data comes in, from which channels. So we have a variety of channels at The Guardian. We've got web, we've got app, we've got direct, we've got contributors, we've got staff. We need to think about where the data comes in. We have to categorize it according to classification. That doesn't happen manually. We need to map it. We need to make sure that systems can talk to systems and databases to databases. We need to create some homogeneity in those data sets so they can actually talk to one another properly. We need to do this in a way where it's managed successfully, effectively, efficiently, so that we can make sure that the ultimate data user, the data consumer, as they say in data governance terms, has the right data for the right use for that business strategy. And then as you flow through that life cycle, you need to make sure that that data disappears at the right time. You need to know that if there's a data incident, that you can spot where that incident has happened and that you can mitigate any risk to that data. And then you start the life cycle again. Now, it's really difficult at the moment because we're in transition really from an analog to a digital world. So if I had a startup Guardian or a startup company, I won't say The Guardian too often, but do read it. But if you had a startup, it would be easy because it might not be. You might go and buy 3 tools and think that's the job. You can't do that. This is dependent on people having a strategy and a data management policy. But hopefully you'd have that and you'd go and pick the right tools and off you go. Most of us have databases or data swamps, as I like to call them, and you're starting from that sort of, how many bytes did you say? Petabytes? Petabytes. And that terrified me. Imagine that in an incident. Imagine managing that in an incident and thinking you had maybe an eighth of that amount and not knowing what it is or how it's structured or where it sits or how long you've had it or what's in there.